Hi everyone, welcome you all. In this video, I'm going to talk about Selenium. So before going to understand what exactly Selenium is, we need to have a basic idea about Selenium Grid and also Docker concepts. So first let us talk about little bit Selenium Grid and then Docker, and then we will see what exactly Selenium is and how it is going to work. The first let us start with the Selenium Grid. So I already created a video on Selenium Grid earlier. So I will provide the link in the description. You guys can watch that recording before continuing this. So here I'm just giving you the high level overview what exactly Selenium Grid is and how it is going to work. So in the Selenium Grid is basically a distributed environment where we can distribute our test cases across multiple operating systems and multiple browsers. So here in this environment, basically the Selenium hub will be there, Grid hub. We can call it as a Grid hub, and the multiple nodes will be associated with this particular hub, and these nodes have some operating system, like one of them are Windows or Linux or Mac or any other operating system. And every machine, or here the node is nothing but a machine, so every machine is having the browsers installed, should be the installations should be there, and also Selenium driver should be copied. And basically these machines are virtual machines, we can also call as a nodes. So these virtual machines or nodes we will associate with the Grid hub. Now the Grid hub is a central server from where we will execute multiple test cases, and based on the configuration, means based on operating system and browser or browser version, the test cases will be distributed among multiple nodes and execution will happen in the slaves or nodes. So this is a basic infrastructure which is provided by Selenium Grid. So in the Selenium Grid, the problem is we need to maintain multiple virtual machines to have multiple environments and browser versions, right? So sometimes it is also difficult because one system is having operating system, every system is having their own operating system, and multiple browsers. Again, every browser is having different versions, and maintaining of this environment a little bit complex, right? So to make simplify this environment, and Docker came into picture. So we can also have Selenium Grid on Docker environment. What exactly Docker will do is, to Docker means it is having some kind of containers, right? So we have to just download a Docker images and whichever configuration we need. And once you download the Docker images, and based on those images, we can create a containers, right? So we need to just download a Docker images. So those images again contains a grid configuration, Selenium Grid configuration. So just we need to download Docker images, and those images are by default available on Docker Hub. And from that particular Docker Hub, we can just download the images, and based on the images, we can create a containers, right? And we can create any as much as containers we want, depends on our uh, operating systems and the browser versions. So the containers by default is having a grid environment or grid setup. So the only thing is we can run those containers in our local system itself. We no need to maintain any virtual VMs for them, virtual machines for them. Just we will get the images and just pull the images and then create a containers in our local system, and then we can start executing our test cases. So that containers already contains a grid setup inside this, and the whole thing will be taken care by the Docker image or container. And here we no need to explicitly set up grid environment, because the container is already having the grid setup and everything. Only thing is we need to write our automation code with some configuration, and we can just execute that, and our hub is also part of inside the Docker container. We'll distribute our test cases across multiple containers here, and accordingly it will choose the proper browser and test cases will be executed. So here the advantage of Docker here is it will come with the containers, so we no need to explicitly do grid setup. Okay, so that's the advantage of Docker. So again, here also we need to download this containers manual, download these images, and you can again make it containers manually, right? But that is also still fine. But we don't know exactly our test cases, how they are running, and what is the status, and we cannot we cannot physically see what exactly happening in these containers, and the dashboard and reports we cannot clearly see them. Okay, so the Selenium is another kind of a tool is available as open source. And with this Selenium, we can also achieve the same thing, but it is having a lot of advantages. So once we have incorporated Selenium, what exactly it is doing, what exactly Selenium is. So Selenium is basically a scalable container, a flexible scalable container based, it is based, again, it's a container basically, which contains the Selenium Grid environment. And along with this, it is also having some features like video recording, live preview, and basic authentication, and also it will provide you dashboard. So these are the additional features we have with the Selenium. So in Selenium, only thing is we need to just pull two images. So these are again Docker images, Selenium and Selenium. So these are the two Docker images which we need to pull. And with just one command, we can just set up the entire grid environment. So with this just one command, we can set up entire grid environment. So once you run this command here, it will start, it will set up all the grid environment within seconds. So we don't need to do any complex setup. And once your Selenium is come up and running, just you need to write your automation code and run them on required containers. So even Selenium is also come up with the two containers. One is Linux, both are Linux containers are having Chrome. One container is having Chrome browser and the other container is having Firefox browser. We can also set up more number of OS and more number of browsers. So by default, it will come up with Firefox and Chrome into Linux VMs. So here just we need to download two containers and then we just run one command, Selenium command, and this will automatically create grid environment and setup. So here this is Selenium is also internally uses Docker to set up grid environment. So the only advantage of Selenium is here we no need to download a separate containers like previously. So here if we just use only Docker, so first we need to have Docker compose file and then we need to download containers manually by running the commands, and then we need to establish the grid, we need to again run one more command. So there are advantages are there, but here we don't have any kind of dashboards and live views, right? So the live visible, we can just visible how the execution is happening within the containers. So those kind of options are not there. So Selenium will provide you the complete visibility, what exactly happening inside the containers, how the grid is going to execute your test cases on containers, right? So this is all about basically Selenium Grid on Selenium. So basically Selenium contains a Docker, and using Docker itself, it is also setting up the grid environment, right? So now I'll show you demo how we can automate the end-to-end. So first of all, I'm just going to create a Selenium test, and once you create the Selenium test, and then I will just set up the Selenium environment. Just we need to download two containers by using this command, docker pull elgalu/selenium and docker pull dosel/selenium. So these are the two commands which just we need to execute from the command prompt. Then we need to start Selenium. So the prerequisite is we need to have a Docker installation on your system. That's the first thing. And Docker server and client both should up and running. So there's only prerequisite you need to have. So the previous one, so here only Selenium Grid and also Selenium Grid along with the Docker. So these things I have already covered in my previous videos. So separately, I will provide the links in the description in case watch those recorded sessions. Now in this video, I'm going to show you how we can work with the Selenium and how we can execute our test cases on Selenium Grid environment. All right, let's get started. So let me just go to Eclipse. So first I will create Selenium test cases and all, and then I will start, I'll set up Selenium environment. Okay. So let's create, let's go to Eclipse. Now here I'm going to create a new Maven project. So select the Maven project and here click on the next, click on the next, and again next. And here I'm just going to give a group ID and artifact ID. I'm just giving some name called Selenium. I'll say Selenium Grid. All right. And also I'm giving you artifact ID Selenium Grid, and click on the finish. So once you have created, then it will create a Maven project like this. Now, if we just go inside and we don't require these packages, I'm just removing them here and here. All right, so now we need to first update pond.xml because we need to add some dependencies there. So I need testng and Selenium dependencies. Let me just get the Selenium and TestNG dependencies from Maven repository, just go to MVN repository, and from there we can get it Selenium and TestNG dependencies. So here just select Selenium Java and go here, click on the link, and so this is the latest and stable version. 4 is not yet released officially. Just go to the latest version, and this is the dependency. Go and add the dependency. This is a Selenium dependency, right? So after that, I will also add one more. Sorry, it should be added here. So this is one dependency. We don't require JNU dependency. I can just remove it, right? So now I'm adding testing Selenium dependency. This is a Selenium dependency. And then I need also TestNG dependency to write automation tests. So I'm just also taking TestNG, search for TestNG, and I'm just taking 6.14.3. These are stable, right? So now I'm just added TestNG also. Now the save file, and it will download required third-party libraries, Selenium and TestNG, right? So now let's go to src test.java. Here I'm going to create a new package to create our Selenium test. So the package name, I'm saying test cases, right? So I'm just saying test cases, click on finish. Now I'm going to create a new test case, which I'm going to run on Selenium Grid environment. So go to new and class, and here I'm just creating a simple test case called, let's say, login test. Click on the finish. So inside this, I'm going to create 3 different methods. One is for setup method, which will decide on which browser we need to execute our test case, and all the browser related configuration will be there. The other one is actual test, a login test, and then tear down method. So let me just create 3 different methods. This is one is setup method, and also I will create one more method called login test. This is actual test I'm going to implement later. And then I'll just create one more method called tear down, which will exit from the browser. So here we need to write a setup. So I want to execute this method before test. So I can use TestNG annotation. So I can execute this before test and import all annotations. Now the login test is the actual test. So I'll just say test annotation, which is also imported from test org testng.annotations. And tear down should basically greeting from the browser. So I will just specify as after test and then import it. Okay. So I have just created 3 methods. Now let us implement this. So the first of all, let's start implementing the setup method. So here in the setup method, I will just create the browser configuration. So we are going to work with the Selenium Grid, right? So to work with the Selenium Grid, we need to create some desired capabilities. Okay. So for that, what we need to do is we need to create a class called desired capabilities, because we need to specify on which browser, which OS we need to run our test cases. So I'll just create desired capabilities, and I'll say DC is equal to new desired capabilities, and then so I'm just importing this class from org OpenGL selenium.remote. All right, so now once you specify this, right, now we need to add some properties to this object. What are those properties? Let's say DC is equal to set capability. So sorry, DC dot set capability. So here we need to pass capability name and value. So here, if you want to specify the browser, right? So we need to specify the capability type here. Capability type dot, and which capability type is browser name I need to specify here. So select a browser name, and what is the name of the browser I'm currently going to execute is browser capability type is a browser name. So browser name also we need to specify here. So browser type. So browser type dot Chrome. Okay. So in the statement, what I have done is I just set capability of type of the capability and type of the browser. So capability type is browser name. The value of the browser name is Chrome. And similarly, we can also specify the OS. Let's say DC dot set capability, and again the capability type is And here capability type is, let's say, platform name. I'll say platform name. Basically the platform name will be the operating system. So here the value will be, let's say, platform dot Linux. Okay, so basically Zillion will provide you two Linux containers. I'm just say Linux. So this is how we can add multiple capability types like browser version, platform name, even browser version name, and platform version. All the things we can specify by using capability type, right? So for now, just having two capability types I'm specified, and then we need to create one URL object. So because we are working with the Selenium Grid, so now we should not use a normal WebDriver. Okay. So I will also create a WebDriver that is not a Chrome driver or IE driver. So we need to create a remote WebDriver. So to work with the Selenium Grid. So I'll just create a remote WebDriver. Sorry. So this is basically remote WebDriver. And we should not use normal WebDriver, okay? Because we are going to run our test cases on remotely. So remote WebDriver, and driver. So I'm just creating variable. I will initiate this inside the setup. So import this remote WebDriver, and this driver I will initiate here. So driver is equal to dot get. So here we need to pass one URL along with the desired capabilities. Okay. And what is the URL we need to pass here? So grid hub URL we need to pass. So later I will create a grid hub environment using Zilenium. So that URL we need to pass. So the default URL of your grid is, I'll create one variable URL, and URL is equal to new URL. So wherever your Selenium grid is running, so that grid URL you need to pass. So the default URL. So currently I'm going to set up Selenium grid using Selenium in my local system. I'll say HTTP colon localhost and 4444 WD hub. So this is a basically grid URL, Selenium grid hub URL. And if your grid hub is running on some other machine, you need to provide the IP address of that particular machine. Okay. So currently my grid is going to set up in my local system, and this is a local host I am using. This is basically URL. All right. So now import this URL from java.net, and this URL we need to pass here. So URL is equal to new URL. We specified the URL here, and driver we should not run like this directly. So here we already created a driver object, right? So that we need to initialize first of all. Okay. So driver is equal to new remote driver, because we haven't instantiated here. So here we need to do that. So I'll say new remote driver, and here we need to pass this URL along with this desired capability. So I'll say DC also. Done. So now this will open this URL on the browser later. So here this is just for setting up the hub. So we need hub URL here, and there's a default hub is running on this URL, and then I'll create the driver here. And driver object is required two parameters. One is URL, hub URL, and then desired capabilities. And after that, I will try to invoke the application. So driver.get, here I need to specify the application URL. Okay, so here this is a grid hub URL, and here we need to specify the application URL. So here I'm going to use this particular application. I'm going to launch, and I'll show you simple login operation here. Once you open this particular website, you will find a login screen. Just click on the login, and the same flow I'm going to show you, and just enter your username and password, click on the login. So this is a simple scenario I'm going to show you. So here I'm just launching the website. So these are all set up. So created desired capabilities, and then specify the capabilities like browser name is Chrome, platform is Linux, and then GitHub URL is specified, then driver. So remote web driver also initiated, and it will take URL and desired capabilities as a parameter. And then finally I launch the browser. So this is basically grid setup. Now, so let's automate the login. This is a normal Selenium script. We can write it. So we already opened the URL here. Just we need to identify, we need to go and click on the login. You need to provide the username and password, and then click on the login. So let me just go to browser again. So first of all, let me just click on the login. So inspect this login, and I'm capturing directly XPath for this, or just make use of crow path. And I'm just copying the XPath for this. Driver dot find element. This is a simple Selenium script I'm writing, guys. So by dot XPath, and specify the text path dot click. So this will perform the click action on the login link. So here, once you click on this, it will give you the login screen. So email and password we need to identify. Just inspect that email, and let's see what are all elements we have here. Attributes like we also have ID. Capture the ID. Then here the next statement, driver dot find element by dot ID, and specify the ID dot send keys. And here I'm passing the username of my website. I'll say this is my username. Right, so now this will go and enter the username in the box. And the next one is password. Inspect the password. For password also ID is available, so just go and identify the password. Driver dot find element by dot ID and provide the ID dot send keys. And here my password is test_123. And after that we need to click on this login. Just inspect the login. So I don't find any ID or anything else. Let's go and get the XPath for this. And then driver dot find element by dot XPath, and specify that XPath dot click. So this will perform the login. So it will go and click on this. Let's go and log in. And also I will verify the title of the page after successful login. So I'll say test_123 login. Now once it is successfully logged in, yes, we got the home page, my account page, right? So here I'm getting the title of the page and verify the title of the page. Just go to head here. This is the expected title, and I'll put some verification point. And after clicking, I'll wait for some time here. The dot can put some sleep statement, let's say 5 seconds, and add this exception. Then I'll verify the asset here. I'll insert the asset, testing asset. So asset dot asset equals, and what is an actual is something. So what is our expectation here is the title of the page should be this one. And how we'll get the actual title? So driver dot get title, driver dot get title, driver dot get title will give you the title of the page, which is equal to this one, and then my assertion will pass. So this is a login test. And here down, I'll just close my driver. So driver dot quit, sorry. So this should be driver dot quit. Okay, done. So this is our whole test case, guys. So in the setup method, I just added all the settings. So, and the login test, I implemented the steps, and then tear down browser will be closed. So this is the initial test I have written. Okay, later we will see how we can run the same test in different browsers. Okay, so this is a very basic test case I have created. Now to run the test case, I'll also create one test ng. And from the test ng, I will pass a browser parameter. So I'll execute the test case on Chrome as well as Firefox on 2 different machines. Okay. So what I can do is I will also run the test case using XML file. So from that XML file, I will pass this a browser parameter, and setup method will receive that parameter, and accordingly it will launch appropriate browser. So currently these particular steps will launch only the Chrome browser, and the whole test case will execute on the Chrome browser. But I want to pass Chrome as a parameter or Firefox browser as a parameter from XML file, and then I'll able to execute it. So let me just create a XML file to run this particular test case. So how we can do that? Right click on test, go to test ng, and convert to test ng. So this will create a default XML file, and test_ng.xml will be created at the project level. Click on the finish. Now it is created test_ng.xml. So by default, there are default tags are there, suit, and it is a test, and inside the classes, my test case class is present, right? So I will just modify this particular one. So what I can do is, so the first test, I'll make it as on Chrome. So here the name I will specify as a Chrome test. Right, so this is a Chrome test, and here login test will execute, and the same test I will make one more entry here, and the same test I want to run on Firefox. Okay, I make it as a 2 test cases. Same test case will execute 2 times. One is by using Chrome and the other one is Firefox. And that parameter I need to pass from XML file itself. So here I'm going to pass a parameter. How we can pass a parameter? So before writing the classes, I will add one parameter here. Parameter and name is equal to, parameter name is equal to browser, and the value of this browser is equal to, I'll say Chrome. Right, so this parameter we need to receive later. Okay, this is the parameter tag. And same thing I can also specify for the second test here, and here the again parameter name is browser, and this is Firefox. So now what I have done is I'm just passing the parameters through XML file to this particular test. So let me just open side by side. So now this is the XML file, and first time I'm passing Chrome, second round I'm passing Firefox. Okay, so Chrome test I'm saying for Firefox test, but how this is going to, so I'll just say only Firefox. Okay, so these are the parameters I'm going to pass from XML file to your test, but how your test will receive those parameters. And especially setup method is responsible for launching the browser or choosing the browser according to my parameter. So how we need to select proper browser here. So we need to slightly modify the setup method. So what are the modifications we need to do here is, so we need to first receive the parameter from the XML. For that we need to add a special annotation called parameters, and here I'll say whichever parameter name we have used here, the same parameter name we should use, browser. Now import these parameters from test_annotations. Okay, and here so this will give you browser as a parameter, so that's a string value. So I will create one parameter variable here, let's say br. Okay, so whatever value we have assigned to the browser in the XML, so that value will assign to the br. Now br contains exactly name of the browser, so name of the browser. So what I will do now here is I will just create one if condition. If this br dot equals and Chrome, right? So this is the browser. If br dot equals a Chrome, and then execute all these steps. So till here. So these configuration steps should be related to Chrome browser, right? So when it should select capabilities Chrome, Linux, and URL, all these things. So whenever, so this browser is Chrome, right? This br value is Chrome, and then I need to set up the browser, Chrome browser, right? So now you can also just remove this URL, these things outside of the condition. I can just remove from here, put outside. Right, so these are the only steps I have written. So br dot equals Chrome, then what I'm doing is I'm just specifying the browser name and the platform name. Okay, if the browser equal to Chrome, suppose else if br dot equals to Firefox. Suppose second test I'm passing the Firefox as a parameter. So if it is a Firefox, so then what I should do is, if it is a Firefox, again we need to set the same capabilities by changing the values. So here browser name should be Firefox dot Firefox, and here the same operating system. Okay, so these are the only settings. So based on the browser name here, we will choose appropriate browser and set the capabilities, and then accordingly it will open the URL driver, remote driver, on the same DC I'm passing, and then open the URL. Okay, so this is a whole code I have just created. Right, so this desired capabilities is there, right? So we can also create this desired capabilities variable outside as a global variable. Suppose if you want to use somewhere else, and here no need to specify the desired capabilities, just create it instance. Okay, now this DC instance is initiated based on the condition. So this is how we need to just modify the setup. Now when you run the when I run my test case, so XML will pass the parameters, browser parameter, that's browser name, and the setup method will receive the browser name here. Accordingly it will choose appropriate browser based on the condition, right? And whichever browser is chosen, so rest of the test cases will execute on that particular browser, right? So this is whole test case. Now, so we are done the test case, right? So the second thing is, next step is we need to set up Selenium environment. So to run the test case on multiple browsers and multiple platforms. So how we can do the setup? So now let us see the setup of Selenium. So here I provided some of the steps. First step, we need to pull these two containers. So docker pull elgalu / selenium and docker pull dosel / selenium. So these commands are again available on Selenium official website. So now let me just go to Selenium official website to understand few things. So just type Selenium on Google and you will get Selenium official website. So this is the official website of Selenium. So opensource.zalando.com. Okay, so this is the official website of Selenium. So here they have given a lot of information with in the form of documentation. All the things are very clearly mentioned. So if you just read this document, we can easily understand how we can set up Selenium and how we can configure and execute our tests. It's very, very simple. So as a first step, what is as given is prerequisites. What are the prerequisites is we need to have the Docker environment, which is version should be greater than this one, 1.11.1. And make sure what Docker info works without errors. So if you are installed Docker successfully in your environment, then Docker info will give you client and server information of your Docker. Let's cross check. So first of all, we need to open the command prompt. So I already installed my Docker. So let me just cross check. So I'll just say Docker version. When I say Docker version, it will give you a Docker version. Let me run one more command. So Docker version. So if I just type Docker version here, so it is giving Docker version 19.3.1 and Docker server version is 19.3.1. So engine version. So it is exactly matching with this requirement. Now the next one is make sure Docker info works without errors. So let's type Docker info. Docker info. Basically, this will also give the Docker related information. So if you just go here, it will give you without errors. You need to get all the information. Okay, these are the prerequisites. So once you verify these prerequisites, and then we need to pull two containers. So pull two images. So what is the command? Docker pull. So this is the one, and let me just increase the browser. Okay, so this is the one. Docker pull and elgalu / selenium, docker pull dosel / selenium. So if you just run these two commands in the command prompt, so this will download two images. Okay, so we already executed these commands in my command prompt. So these two images are already available in my system. But if you want to check whether these images are available or not, this is the first step, guys. Okay, we need to just download two images. So let me just also write some notes here so that I'll copy the same notes in the description. So as a first step, we need to download. This is a Selenium configuration. Okay, so I'll say Selenium Setup. So as a first step, what we need to do is we need to run these two commands as they suggested. So these are the two commands. And the first command is docker pull this one, and second command. So these commands I already ran. So these commands will basically download two images. So after downloading images, so you can cross check whether those images are there or not. So just again open your command prompt. Now here you can cross check whether those images are available in your system or not. I'll say simple docker images. So this command will give you the images. So now you can see here, these are the images which are already downloaded earlier. So in your case, you need to run these two commands and it will take few seconds of time. And once these commands are completed one after another, then you can just run this command docker images, then you will see these two entries. Okay, so this is the first step. Now after running these two commands, now you have two images. So two images. So based on these images, we need to create a containers, and these images by default is having grid configuration. Okay, you don't need to do anything else. Just we need to download these two images, and then we need to just run these images, and it will automatically create the containers which contains a grid setup. Okay, so how to run the Selenium now? So when I run the Selenium, it will internally create a containers based on these two images. Okay, so the command is here. They have also given this command. So how to run it? So this is just a command we need to run. And this command, slightly this parameter will be changed according to your operating system. So you need to just give proper paths. Okay. So here in my local system, I am going to run this particular command. Let me just put it here. So this is my command. So docker run -rm-ti is representing interactive -name Selenium is a port number where hub and running, and these are some additional parameters exactly they have given. So we can just run as the most important thing here is the path. So here see users admin temp videos and users admin temp videos. So this is your local path. If it are Windows, so I'm just provided my Windows path. And if you're working on Linux or Ubuntu or any other operating systems, you need to properly give these paths. And one more thing is, whichever user you are using for your Windows operating system, that user should have the complete privileges on this particular folders to write the files. So otherwise you will get user permission issues. Okay, so that you need to make sure. Our Docker should have the complete control on this particular folders, whatever locations I'm giving, because later all the dashboard videos will be created inside this particular folders. So you need to, the Docker especially should have the complete privilege on this particular folders. So what you should do is, for that, once you have installed Docker, here the corner right, so you will see small Docker icon. Okay, so once you open the Docker icon, and just on the Docker icon, once you click on the Docker icon and settings, you will see this particular window. So just click on the Docker icon, which is displayed in the right side corner, and go to the settings. Now you will see the settings window like this. Inside the settings window, you need to go to shared drives, and wherever this path is available in the drive, so you need to give the complete control on this particular drive. Okay, so this is most important one. So just select the drive and click on apply, and after that your Docker will be restarted, and then the Docker is having the full control on this particular folders. So this is a mandatory step. So fine, so now we are ready to run this command. And basically what this command will do is, this whole command will start Selenium, and internally Selenium will create two containers based on these two images, and those containers will be having grid setup, Selenium grid setup. Okay, now let's run those commands, and the two images are ready. Now before running those commands, we need to open the command prompt as an administrator. Okay, right click, run as administrator, command prompt. Now I open a command prompt like this, and here we need to run all the commands. So we already cross check, and these two commands are already run earlier to get the images. You can just cross check once again, Docker images, and this will give you images are available. Okay, but if you want to get these two images, you need to run these two commands as a prerequisite, and then we need to run this command. So I'm just running this command now. So just I'm right clicking here, and everything is provided in the documentation, guys. Okay, Docker commands and everything. And to stop the Selenium Docker, you can just say docker stop Selenium. Okay, this is to stopping the Selenium. So this is also another command. Fine, so let's go and execute this command here. I'm just copying the command, and let me just maximize this window to see everything clearly. Edit, paste is not working. Okay, so now I'm just copying this command, guys. Just hold on, let me just open command prompt one more time. Command prompt, run as administrator. Now I got this command prompt. So here we need to execute this particular command. Okay, so now I just copied the same command, right? So now I'm going to execute it. Press enter. Now it will start creation of containers with the grid setup. Okay, and we need to wait for a few seconds here. And if you don't have proper privileges, you will get into permission denied issues here. And again, you need to go back and make sure your Docker should have all the privileges on this particular folders. Now you can see data processing agreement, and here you can see these messages. So here Selenium Grid Hub is up and running, and nodes are should register to this one, and our client should connect to this one. So everything is ready now. So my grid is ready, and Selenium is also up and running. So once you open, you can just minimize this, and now let us cross check whether Selenium Grid is running or not. Okay, and how many nodes are created. So if you want to cross check that information, you need to open few links. So if you just normally, when you after setting up the Selenium Grid, right, how we will verify how many nodes are created or not? We can just open this URL, right, like localhost, this is Selenium Grid /console. So this will give you how many nodes are created in the Selenium Grid. So this is the only thing it will give you in case of Selenium Grid. So in the Selenium Grid control, we can see like, so in the Linux VM, we have here, this is a one container, this is another VM, or we can say container. So both are Linux. And also the first Linux is having Chrome and Firefox, and the other Linux is also having Chrome and Firefox, right? So these are only two nodes I've created associated with the hub. So if you set up only Selenium Grid, only you will get this information. But what are other things we will get by Selenium is, we can also see the live view. So once we have executed our test cases, if you just run your test cases, you will go and execute on this particular grid because we specify all the setup, right? But the additional things what we can do, especially in Selenium, is we can view the flow, exactly what exactly happening. So let me just open this URL. So the URL is localhost and 4444 grid admin live. So this is the URL. Okay, so this URL, if I open, it will give you the live preview. This is a additional important feature from Selenium. So it will give you the live preview. So what exactly live preview is? So it will give you the two nodes, right? Currently by default, it will create two nodes for the grid. So once you start executing our test case, the entire flow, the UI, we can see on this particular two nodes. This is a live view feature from Selenium. Okay, now everything is up and running. So here you can see this is the admin/live. So this is the URL you have to use. So this is just give you the console. But if you want to view the live, right, what exactly is happening inside the container, you need to just run this URL on the browser, right? So after this, if you want to see the complete report, again, we need to open the dashboard. So that we will see later. So for now, I'm just going to run my test cases on Selenium Grid, and we will see lively how it is going to execute. So go to Eclipse. I hope my test case is perfectly right. So I should execute through XML file because we are passing the parameter from XML file. So first parameter is Chrome, second parameter Firefox. We can also make them as a parallel. So here the setup method will receive that browser parameter and will perform the rest of the things. Right, so let's execute now. So I'm just running XML test-ng suite. Okay, once it is executed, now my execution is started. So once your execution is started, now you can just go and open this live event page. Now you can see exactly how execution is happening here. We don't find any errors, so we can see the execute. Now we can see the first node, it is launching my browser and open this URL, and then it is doing a login process. Done. Right, so this is the first test on the first node. You can also see the Chrome is disabled because this is already locked. Now it is completed. Now it will come to the next node. So here the Firefox is distributed to the next node, right? So here the Firefox should execute. Yes, now it is started my Firefox browser on the second node. Now my test case is executing on the second node on the Firefox browser. And the previous one is already completed and disconnected. So now currently the second node is up and running. Yes, now it is also completed. So it is also going to disconnect after few seconds. So this is basically the live preview feature from Selenium. Okay, now if we go back and see the Eclipse, and my test cases got passed. And one more important feature from Selenium is we can see the dashboard page. So if we just see this URL, we can see the live preview, what exactly going to happen in this particular containers, right? So suppose if you want to see what exactly executed on these containers and what is the report and dashboard I want to see. So for that, we need to open one more URL, that is this one. So the first URL will give you just a console. That means how many nodes have been created inside the grid. The second link will give you the live preview. So once you have started execution, your test case is going to execute your under container. So the live preview you can see. And the next URL will give you the dashboard after completion of your test execution. Now let's go to browser. Now I'm opening another URL. So dashboard. So now we can see this is the dashboard of Selenium. So what I can see, two tests I have run through XML. So one is on Firefox and the other one is Chrome. It can also show you the operating system and along with the version. So both have been passed and completed. And if you just select one of them, so let me just select the Chrome one. It will also give you the video which is already recorded by Selenium. See this is another very good feature from Selenium. So now we can see whatever the test case is happening. So the same thing, the screens have been recorded. So if you just click on the video, so the video will be played here. Okay, now you can play it. Click on this arrow mark and this browser launched, open in the URL and the login, everything will be recorded. So you can play the video, what exactly happened, you can see that. Okay, and you can also see the logs here. If I just click on the logs, it will, and there are two types of log will be displayed, Selenium log and browser driver log. If I click on the Selenium logs, it will give you the detailed logging information. And if you click on the Selenium browser driver log, you can also display browser driver log. So this log information later you can provide to the developers if you face any issues. Okay, the log information also clearly displayed, and operating system, browser. So a lot of features are there in this. Okay, just we need to explore the documentation. We can try other related options. Now, similarly, if you just go to the first option, this is the first test. Again, the video is recorded. So now again, it is doing logging and completion. So it's just taken 20 seconds. Done. So here also it will show you logs and Selenium log as well as browser driver log, right? So this is a basically dashboard. So this is another very important feature from Selenium. So the first feature what I have shown you is live preview. So this is the one feature, and the next feature is you can see the dashboard. Exactly how many test cases we have run and which environment we have run, which browser version, along with the logs. Everything we can see in the dashboard. Okay, so these are all very important features from Selenium. So now let me show you a few more important configuration options in Selenium. So we have seen what exactly Selenium is now. So a Selenium is a flexible and scalable container based Selenium Grid with video recording, live preview. And basic authentication means it needs some authentication. We provided that. So then dashboard. Okay. So Selenium dashboard contains a lot of information. Just now I have shown you. So there are multiple URLs we need to use to do that. So here I have provided different URLs, and also we can also clean up the results. Suppose every time when you run your test cases, what happens is the keep on new test will be added to this particular dashboard. So if you want to clean them, you can just clean them. You can click on the cleanup, or if you click on the reset, everything will be reset. So everything will be gone. Okay, and you can also filter the test. Suppose you have 100 tests, if you want to check whether proper test case is passed or not, you can just search with the ID, and all the test cases will be displayed here. So there are many more options are there. So if you just go to the documentation, they have given a lot of information. So if you just come down here, so this is the dashboard we have seen. This is a live preview. So this is a feature we have seen. And here, so they are all again giving the same commands based on the Linux, how we need to run this command, like Mac or Windows, how we need to run this command, just slightly changes. So they have given here. And these are all special, more configuration parameters. So we can also increase the number of containers. So by default, it is created only 2. So desired containers are only 2 default. If you want to increase this value, it will go and create multiple things. So just we need to add this parameter to this particular command. So whatever command I type here, right? So at the end, after start, just we need to add one more parameter like this. So desired containers, I can say suppose 4, then it will create 4 slave nodes for single hub. Okay, this is another parameter. So these parameters we can use at the end of this particular command. So there are a lot of options are there. You can just go and explore this all the options and more configuration parameters. And if you just go down, environment variables which are required as given, and few more important things are there, guys. So here, and this Selenium is also supported some of the cloud-based environments. Okay, so if you just go down, it will give you that information. Okay, just let me show you. So what are all cloud-based environment it is supported? Okay, so basically these are the test configuration options, guys. Okay, so here we can also specify the test name. So if we just go and click on this, so we specify the desired capabilities, right? Along with the browser name and platform, we can also give our own name to the test. So by default, if you just go and see the dashboard is given some dynamic name, right, at the runtime, but we can also set the test name here, set capability test name, and name is equal to test name also we can provide as a desired capability. And the build name we can provide ideal timeout, how much time our container should wait to run our test cases. So screen resolution, also the image screen resolution, video resolution should be also selected. Okay, if you want to disable the video recording, and we can also add this particular property. So record video false. These are all part of your desired capabilities. Okay, and different options are there. You guys can explore all these options. And one more thing here is it will also support some cloud-based tools, right? So like OpenStack, Lambda. So these kind of cloud-based tools are supported. So here they have given some list of tool base. So when I run this, so you can see here, Selenium Hubby started, Sauce Labs, Browser Stack, Testing Board, CBT. So these Lambda tests. So these are all cloud-based environments, and they are also providing multiple environments and platform to run our test cases, right? So currently, I have not passed any properties to run our test case on these environments. So that's the reason say not enabled when I run my Selenium. But if you set these properties, you can also run your test cases on this particular environments. So what are the environments it supported? They are already given the list of items here. So you need to just pass some of the parameters. If you just look at here, yes, here it is there. So you can see, so SaaS Labs enabled. So we need to make it as a true. If you want to execute our test cases on SaaS Lab, or browser tags enabled, we need to make it as a true. So by default, the property is false. So if you want to make our test case execution on these environments, we need to make them as a true. CBT enabled, Lambda test enabled. Okay, so there are multiple options are provided. So you can just explore this documentation and we can use in our tests. Okay, so this is basically a concept of Selenium. So again, let me just review what we have done. So basically in Selenium Grid, we need to set up all the VMs, multiple VMs, and every VM again we need to install multiple browsers, and Selenium standalone jar file should be copied. And then we need to set up Hub, we need to run different commands from Hub, and then we need to run the test cases through Hub. Okay, this is a little complex setup, and without Docker. So this is a purely Selenium Grid. Now, if your Docker is available, so this entire Grid environment will come with the containers. Just we need to download 2 containers, and then we can run those containers. Sorry, we can just download images. We can run those images. It will create a containers which is already having Grid setup. So this is very simple. And the next enhancement is Selenium. So Selenium is also doing the same thing, but in addition, it will give you a lot of other features like live view, dashboard. Okay, and we no need to run the multiple commands. So just one single command we can run the Selenium, and we can stop Selenium. Okay, so this is very simple to do that. So this is all about Selenium, so which will provide you flexible Selenium Grid environment in Docker containers. Okay, so in the Selenium Grid and the Selenium with the Grid with the Docker, so these two concepts I already created 2 different videos earlier. I will provide you those description in the I will provide you those links in the description. You guys can watch those videos, and in this video I have covered Selenium. Okay, so that's all for this video, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.